Hello, this is Tuesday, uh, November the 21st, 2024. Hope everybody is having a good day so far. I want to talk today and give tribute to an old friend who just recently passed away. And uh, his funeral will be tomorrow. Because of my work schedule, I'm not going to be able to attend, but I did want to pay tribute to my friend. And his name was Ray Bolton. Ray Bolton was born in Ennis, Texas, to the late Ethel and Will Bolton on December 23rd, 1929. He was educated in Ennis Public Schools and at Houston Tillotson University in Austin, where he achieved a master's degree in political science. Ray Bolton served in the U.S. Army as a light truck driver. He traveled various places, being honorably discharged from the military, and by the way, he served in the Korean conflict. He moved to Fort Worth and worked for his uncle Joe Terrell in hotel hospitality. He had another uncle, I assume this was Joe's brother. His name was Claudie Terrell, who lived next door to him in Ennis on Brown Street. And I recall meeting Claudia a couple of times back in the 1980s. He's long deceased. And Ray also worked at a nightclub called Lloyd's as a bartender. Then he coached at the Isaiah Milligan Terrell, that is I.M. Terrell High School, for a time. Last, his working career ended in the Postal Service, where he retired from the Glencrest Postal Station. So Ray had a long and meaningful career. Military, civil service, public schools, and other things. He was known as a person who could get things that if he needed something, it generally would be found in the back truck of his vehicle. He was very frugal and would literally bend over backwards to pick up a penny or maybe 2 pennies. And he loved playing dominoes. After he retired, he spent much of his time in Ennis, although he would go back and forth to Fort Worth quite a bit. Brother Ray, I was his pastor for 14 years at Wayman Chapel AME Church. I came to Wayman Chapel in November 2002, and I remained there to November 2016 when I was reassigned to my current charge, Bethel, Corsicana. Well, Ray, remember the first time I went by his house, when I knocked on the door, I asked, "Is Brother Bolton here?" The man that greeted me at the door was not Ray Bolton, but his brother Roy Bolton. He said, "I'm Brother Bolton." And both of them, Roy was also a veteran of the Korean conflict. I became very close to both of these brothers during my time as pastor at Wayman Chapel. Brother Roy, by the way, passed away in 2008, and I conducted his funeral. His son, Roy Jr., stated that I was not only Roy's pastor, I was also his friend, which means a lot. But they would be right outside the house on a regular basis when the weather was permitting, and Ray and other men would be out there playing dominoes. Now, I'm not into that type of thing personally, but my grandson, Richard Walker, is, and Richard, on more than one occasion, played dominoes with him. In fact, in my book, The Durhams of Fairfield, an African-American genealogy, I have a picture of Richard holding up a trophy he got at one of the Durham reunions as the domino champ. But the domino table was open to all contenders. They didn't gamble. but he always had a neighborly cooler of beer underneath. So you could go by Ray's house anytime you wanted to and play dominoes and drink beer. Those are two activities that do not indulge in, but to each his own. To my knowledge, he never was arrested for DWI or anything like that. Whoever would let them come and get schooled in the arts. He loved the Lord and was good spirited, would help you if he could. He certainly would be sorely missed. Ray he would come to church pretty regular when he was in town. And a very humorous story we had one year, it was shortly after we came to Wayman Chapel, that they ended up, we're having an Advent offering, Advent season leading up to Christmas. We had some cards in which you put quarters in the slots. And Ray was having trouble keeping them quarters in the slots. So finally, he gave up on the cards and decided to deliver it another way. And on the Sunday before Christmas, here he comes at offering time with a bunch of quarters in a Crown Royal bag. That was Ray. In his last years, he was afflicted with Alzheimer's, and he lived in Fort Worth, where he was cared for by his best friend, Ola Dobbin. And our mutual friend, Charles McDowell, had put me in touch with him. In September of this year, 2024, my wife, Deborah, and I were in Fort Worth for an annual conference. And I told her before we come back to Corsicana, we got to go see Brother Ray. So we did. We had a good visit with him and had prayer. And then recently I got a call from Ola saying that Ray had passed away. And I just thank God that I had that last visit with him in prayer. His spirit is cherished by Ola, Macy Bonner, O.C. Bolton, daughters Patricia Bolton Rhodes, Barbara Johnson, to Sean Morkel, sons Kenneth Bolton, Dana Bolton, Waylon Richardson, and Derek Bolton, host of grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nieces, nephews, relatives, and friends. And I want to say this, that he had a very special nephew by the name of Corey Hall. Corey was the son of his late brother Roy, to whom I was very close. Corey, like his uncle, worked for the Postal Service. And I remember one time he was delivered mail in front of Ray's house, and I pointed out the house next door was owned by his late great uncle, Claudie Terrell. I remember there was a wheelchair ramp because Brother Terrell had lost a leg and was in a wheelchair, and before he passed away. And he was also a veteran, spent time in the Waco VA, the Dallas VA. He may have been in Waco, I don't know. But anyway, when I was pastor at Macedonia Kaufman, and the late Reverend Doris Brown was at Wayman Chapel, Ennis, he came over and preached for me. Doris did, and when I met Brother Terrell, I said, "What's your name? Did you say your name was?" He said, "Terrell, just like the next town." And of course, at that time, I was employed at Terrell State Hospital. So Terrell, Kaufman, and Ennis are all three very special communities to me. And but Corey, is my understanding, he lives in Ennis, but he would periodically go to Fort Worth to visit his uncle. I say this, that's just such a wonderful thing, that to have a nephew that's so caring and so concerned about his Uncle Ray. And Corey, I know you'll be rewarded for that. He was preceded in death by his sisters, Lula Brown. I didn't know her. Faye Shepard, I knew her very well. She was a member of of Wayman Chapel, Ennis. He lived in Dallas, and in my early days at Wayman Chapel, I was invited to speak for a Black History program that was held um, at at the Hutchins Senior Citizen Center by the late Pinky Gardner, she was a retired nurse from the VA hospital. And it was announced on our Sunday bulletin, and Sister Faye Shepherd and her daughter Shirley, they came to hear my talk, and they end up becoming active in the senior citizens group there. In fact, Shirley worked there at the senior center for a while. And anyway, but it's been since I've left Ennis and moved to Corsicana to Bethel that Sister Faye has passed away. And a few years ago, I went back and conducted her funeral. Ernestine Holland was another sister. I had met her, didn't know her well. Her funeral was held at our church. Roy Bolton, of course, I knew very well, and I preached his funeral, and I attended the funeral of his wife, Mary, who was a member of Galilee Baptist Church in Ennis. And Ernest Bolton, he lived in Richmond, Virginia. I never met him, but I was involved with his services when he died. I think it was in 2005. He was cremated, and they had his ashes were scattered in the Ennis Cemetery by his mother's grave, and then they had a ceremony at the DFW National Cemetery. And anyway, Roy Bolton is buried in Ennis, and tomorrow Ray will be buried at the DFW National Cemetery. He also was preceded in death by a son named David Bolton. And by the way, in 2007, when we had the dedication of the historical marker for Bethel AME and for Wayman Chapel AME Church in Ennis, we also dedicated the fellowship hall to the memory of two important ladies. One was Ethel Bolton, the mother of Roy, Ray, Faye, Ernest, and Ernestine, and Lula. And the other was to Lena Rogers, who died at the age of 108 in 2004. So anyway, the services are scheduled tomorrow at 2 o'clock. That's at the Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery, and under the direction of Tree of Life Funeral Directors. And so anyway, we give our sympathy to the family of Ray Bolton. Brother Ray, we love you. And I hope they'll let you play dominoes up in heaven. I'm sure you can liven the place up really good. God bless you, Brother Ray. God bless the Bolton family. God bless everybody under the sound of my voice. Have a great day.